Hello and welcome back to awtoolbox.com. My name is Glenn Keller, and in this demo we are going to be going in. We just completed our upgrade and launched the system to validate that everything is working and logging in. And you can see that here. I can select different things, I can download them, I can interact. I've got the rich client open as well. So we're just going to go around and take a look at some cleanup tasks that we need to do after the upgrade. And then we'll get into some simple usability topics in future videos to get us rolling with 2506. So a couple of things that I noticed right away as we were validating the environment is that on the desktop, my 2412 rich client that was here prior, if I open this up, open file location, it's still going to the same location. I don't have a Teamcenter 2506 because that upgrade did not provide me a way to change that install path. So this is 2506 here, and you can see that at the top of the rich client here. And then the 2506 link also goes to that location. So it doesn't just overwrite it anymore. This is kind of nice. I can see the old stuff and delete it. And then I've got the 2506 here. So the BMIDE though is going to also take me to the BMIDE client. So I can see that that's been upgraded as well. And I can basically see my desktop is good. Inside of the start menu, and I know you won't have to deal with this in Linux, but you can see 2412 has actually all the prompts and 2506 just has the BMIDE one. So I'm going to right click on one of these and say more, open file location. And then in here, I'm going to take all the 2412 prompts, cut them, go up to 2506, and you can see it's got 2506 here, BMIDE and command prompt. If I was in 2412, it had just one additional one, the environment manager. So I'm just going to cut that one instead, come over to 2506 and paste it. So now I have the environment manager, 2506 Teamcenter, BMIDE, and the command prompt all sitting in the 2506 package. And I'm going to delete the 2412 folder from this list. Now if I come back in here, I only have 2506 and all of my links are underneath of it. Now the one thing I do like to do is rename the command prompts because this is different. When I select it, it actually launches 3 environment variables, whereas if I do a normal command prompt and just type command, launch it, it doesn't. So there is a significant functionality difference between the two. So what I'm going to do is go into Teamcenter 2506, rename this command prompt link to the Teamcenter 2506 command prompt. So now if I launch it from the 2506 space, right click, run as administrator, I can run install-ayt. I can run list _ users and basically run utilities and execute them in the new environment. So with those things said, the only other thing I can say is that installation directory for one needs to be updated, but in our case, if we change the TC root directory, we have to change it in a lot of different places. So maybe we'll take a look at doing something like that in the future. Again, if you would have followed the build a separate environment and then send that environment to your deployment center, you would have probably got better results with that and been able to define a new directory. Now, I also want to go ahead and take a look at my ping page. So if you didn't know, the ping page is right after you type 3000 in the prompt. You can go to ping, and then it will give you the ping page. You can see that all of my stuff is actually all good. So I've got connections to everything. Except for my Viz, I'm seeing just the HTTP address for the port for Viz. So I'm assuming that Viz didn't start up okay. If I go to the Teamcenter, I can look through this and I do not see a Teamcenter visualization service. So I'll still have to create those services manually, but my FMS, GraphQL, declarative artifact, and all my microservices are all connecting just fine. I can also go through and I can do something along the lines of an 8080 TC FMS ping And as long as you do it correctly, like in this case, I would have to go through the web client to route to it, and I don't have that set up. If you do like 4444 ping, there's different URLs you can try and get to. That one's not playing out so well, so I'll do 8080 TC controller test. And you can see I get the presentation web peer. This tests my TC war file configuration. TC FMS ping doesn't actually resolve. So just a couple of different URLs. We'll play around with the TC FMS ping here in the future. In here, I can see Active Workspace does pop up. I can do a search in my environment and search for something and see if it pops up. In this case, that was a bad search. So in my case, I'm just going to do an open-ended search. It's not the best practice in the world, but it does return something. So I can see a lot of data in here. I could go ahead and test my visualization system. And if you wanted to do that, you would have to have some visualization data. So in a future lesson, we'll start up the Viz services. Just note that if you had Viz before, it's inside of your TC root location for 2412 TC root. And then in here, I have my Viz components, assigner, and pool manager. Until we teach you how to open or run the service, you can always execute this, run as administrator, and this is that 8090 port. And this will pop up and essentially say that the Viz assigner is ready. Actually, in this case, it says the Viz pool assigner is ready. And then I'll come back out and I'll launch from the Viz pool manager folder, run as administrator. And you can see that the Viz server manager is going to start up. And you may have to tweak it for your CPU utilization, but it should spin up a few processes in your task manager. So if I go to task manager, go to details, and go to the V's, you can see it has started up all my Viz views, which is what I want. So I can test that this is working. I'm just minimizing those. And if I go to my environment, underneath my active admin workspace, as a DBA user, there's this configuration viewer administration tile. So I'm going to pick this, and you'll see that I have access to view my pool assigner and my server manager. And though this doesn't guarantee that it's going to work in your environment, it does give you a nice test if you don't have any data to test with. Now, we do have sample data available in some of our older classes that we'll be getting into and downloading and just fully vetting, but in all interpretation, this is working just fine. So our Solar's working, our Viz is working, we can click around, everything seems good. And then if I come into 2506 Rich Client, I can click through this and everything is opening up just fine. So with all regards to the installation and upgrade, I feel like the upgrade itself was fairly simple compared to something that you would have to do with the TEM. It was pretty point and shoot, but if you are doing an install or an upgrade that's in place like this, just note there are some nuances. If you do it the way I did it, you won't get the upgraded deployment center build. You could just install a new deployment center and then take your environment out of your deployment center and push it into the new one and uninstall yours. That would probably get you that 2506 deployment center. I was hoping it would just do it kind of natively there, but it did not. And then another thing is that when you're running it and going through that, just note that your 2506 isn't going to show up as media until you get to that new deployment center. All in all, we will find out other things that may be arise, like the TC root location, that cause issues with the install, but I would give this a 8 out of 10 on the upgrade path. Everything was pretty easy. The prerequisites didn't need upgraded, and the system all kind of started up right away. Take note of our blog. We're going to produce some common errors and things that we saw in the first iteration, most of which were just we didn't stop services or we forgot to pull out our customization from the build beforehand. So take note into that, and then feel free to stay tuned to the next videos as we get into kind of what's new in 2506 and some of our courses.